How's it going? Today is 18th of December, Wednesday, and we're going to be taking a look at government's press releases and perhaps some of the opportunities, if not right now, some of the developments, right? There's a lot of articles, there's a backlog, right, of some of the articles that I need to take a look at. That would be government's press releases. From those progressing to some of the developments when it comes to China, Europe, and from there perhaps we're gonna be touching on some of the interesting projects, right? Let's begin by trying to understand Net Zero Council and perhaps some of the developments, right? That would be government relaunches Net Zero Council, expanding its membership to include civil society and all local governments. Sure, the government has relaunched Net Zero Council, bringing together a broader range of voices to deepen the partnership between government and all private sector, civil society, and all local authorities to support plans to accelerate to net zero across the economy. There was some government press releases the way how central governments would be looking to introduce new changes. Perhaps that has something to do with the way how this particular council should be structured. But anyway, the council will act as a primary stakeholder forum, supporting the delivery of the accelerating to net zero pillars of the mission to make Britain a clean energy superpower. Its insights will inform government strategies, help to address cross-economic challenges, and maximize the economic and all society opportunities the transition presents. For the first time, the Council will have representation for civil society and all local government, who both have essential roles to play in accelerating to the net zero and all can offer more diverse representatives of the challenges and opportunities and all solutions. Right? There isn't a way to recharge this council. Oh, I believe that many people might be interested in recharge this council, and let's try to understand if there's any seats left at the table. Oh, it's behind the closed doors kind of thing going on, right? If there are any seats at the table, how industry, academia, and all local government will be perhaps able to submit express of interest to have a seat at the table, right? I believe that will be important. But anyway, objectives. The Net Zero Council will have three broad functions to provide expert insights, advisory government in the development of its net zero strategy. Great. Are there any seats left? Drive action towards decarbonization across economic conversing senior leaders across the highest emitting sectors the economy to tackle cross-cutting barriers to decarbonization, supporting the business to tackle actions and enabling them to realize the benefits of transition. I don't know. Since there might be a lot of pushback, and here you go. There's gonna be dialogues. 6 months later, there won't be any actions, right? Once that has been said, outreach and all communications to wider business community members and all will engage across the network, advocate for actions to promote climate membership. And as well as there might be some names, let's progress without those. If there are contact information, if there is a person who is be there to respond to any feedback, usually there is 2% out of 98% of emails, 2% who would respond, and the person who would respond with such a nonsensical. Anyway, that's what I guess. Let's take a look at the next article. Let's take a look at the next article. It's something that will be published perhaps a couple of days ago. That will be published on 16th of December. I believe we were taking a look at this company previously, but anyway, defense tech startup opens UK headquarters in boosting for in boost for industry, as well as with this action, a lot of other businesses, being in United States or other places, had introduced very similar solutions, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, that will be Estonia tech startup manufacturing low-cost air defense missiles is expected to open new UK headquarters delivering for Prime Minister's plan for change. Some of the bullet points will be Prime Minister to meet Estonia's business leaders tomorrow as continues his international drive to support growth at home. It's not necessarily just Estonia. There's a lot of similar businesses across Europe who are delivering, but it is perhaps there might be other reasons why UK might be interested in engaging with Estonia. But anyway, Estonia defense startup. Let's keep without the name. I don't know this company, right? To open new UK headquarters to boost for British jobs. UK defense industry major drive to grow the UK, supporting 160 jobs across the country. Overall, it's great. Cost, right? Cost, that would be something that's been highlighted. Low cost, so not necessarily close to 1 million. I hope it's not. So if we can manufacture for fraction of the cost, perfect. And we can shoot those rockets into $20 drones. We're gonna be taking a look at why Europe would be very important for UK's defense. We're gonna take a look at some of the projects, other projects in just a second. What Europe is doing, right? But before we do that, let's try to understand a little bit better about this particular initiative, right? That would be Estonian tech startup manufacturing low-cost air defense missiles is expected to open UK's headquarters delivering for Prime Minister's plan for change. When it comes to rocket technology, they might need to have very high security clearance, right? Not necessarily that's been discussed within this article. Since rockets potentially can go up in the air and can land anywhere. Perhaps defense company. We can say hi to this company. I don't know this company. It's planning to open a new office in London, initially employing upwards of 50 people. It is in a boost for UK's defense sector. So if there's 50 people, perhaps they need to have security clearance so those rockets would land where they're supposed to land. Anyway, specializing in manufacturing of low-cost air defense missiles. The rapidly growing company already collaborating closely with UK's defense industry, sourcing a significant portion of its subsystems locally. The Prime Minister will meet with the founder of the business. Okay, great. I don't know his first name. As part of the business breakfast in Tallinn tomorrow morning on the 17th of December 2024. Great, I guess. I don't know about security clearance, by the way. It's something perhaps United States is doing a lot. So usually UK is collaborating with the United States, and we can take a look at some of the businesses who some of the major obstacles would be how to find 500 people who could undergo security clearance. These are some of the top challenges for United States. So if they have 50 people, perhaps there's a lot of things happening. But anyway, delivering for on the plan for change to boost jobs across the UK and all put money back in the pockets of hardworking people. Great. The Prime Minister will meet with the business leaders from major Estonian players and all market disruptors, including. Okay, great. There's a lot of companies, right? I don't know any of those. I wish I could say names, but anyway, let's forget. As well as this company, which already has a footprint in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Ukraine, will invest 50 million into UK for research and development of low-cost rocket motors. Oh, okay. So again, if it's just motors, there's another project I would like to take a look at. We're gonna be taking a look at that project in just a second. That would be jet engines and what they're doing there. We're gonna do that in just a second. Anyway, it comes after a business secretary last week held round the table as part of the government's pro-growth, pro-business approach. When they say pro-business, I have so much feedback when it comes to pro-business, since not necessarily everyone's on board when it comes to pro-business. Everyone is doing nothing. That's where things are as of now. If someone is doing something, and there are some people who are looking to engage with those individuals who are doing something, that's great. But to the most part, I would say about 90% of government tend to not to do anything. 90% or more perhaps. When it comes to the challenge of the government, I'm more taking a look at how government can be more pro-business, entrepreneurship, all these kind of things. Since the government not actively looking for more work. That's the way to define it. Anyway, approach to realize the economic potential of the defense sector and all change perceptions of in among investors, which is essential to kickstart economic growth and all provide greater investment across the UK. The tech startup is another example of how rapid development and all procurement of low-cost military equipment is supporting Ukraine's fight against Russia. Okay, it might get political, right? If we can, let's skip that. Transforming European defense industry. The company's mission is to develop missile systems that are 10 times more affordable and 100 times faster to produce. Okay, that should be important as well as all components. So I don't know what components they're going to be focusing at this stage, but perhaps systems and all components, if they could have these kind of capabilities, that would be very important, right? 100% of all components and entire system, if they would have these capabilities. We're going to be taking a look at other projects in just a second, but anyway, UK defense industry is a major drive of growth for UK, supporting 1 in 60 jobs throughout 434,000 jobs, well paid roles across the country. Okay, sure, sure. I guess. Uh, so 45,000 a year or so, 40,000 a year, maybe. Estonia is renowned as a tech startup hub with largest number of unicorns and the highest level of venture capital investment per head in Europe. Right. The population is about 1.1 million, as well as some of the projects can be Skype or similar tech projects, as well as education level is very high. But anyway, let's progress. I'll skip some of the presentation. It's just that there might be a lot of names and all project names, all those kind of things, right? Let's instead, we don't have a lot of time. Let's cover a couple other projects, right? We're gonna be taking a look at some of the systems, not necessarily one that we have just covered at that missile defense system or building a shield, quote unquote. Perhaps that would be important, but anyway, to have internet connection and so-called would be smart systems. So rockets would be smart, so not a dumb rockets. Where they would be able to communicate, and but the entire system might require a lot of moving pieces. We can take a look at China, and we're gonna be progressing in taking a look at what Europe is doing in just a second. Actually, China is developing plans for 13,000 satellite mega constellations. For people perhaps do understand that the United States have invested a lot when it comes to taking, let's say, 1 kilogram up to orbit and how cheap it can be for United States, as well as China is doing a lot and perhaps Europe is doing a lot. So that's really how to take all the satellites into orbit and how much that would cost. This particular article has been published 2021. So we can touch on it. I thought it might be important to mention, as well as we're going to be taking a look at the Europe initiatives. What's happening in Europe? Just a second, right? I haven't read this article, so most we not necessarily would read entire article. We tend to stick to what would be important, right? But with Helsinki, which is in Finland, China is to oversee the construction and operation of national satellite internet mega constellation throughout the coordination of all countries' major space actors. Recent comments by senior officials indicate that the plans are moving ahead to alter earlier constellation plans to space sector state-owned enterprises and or possibly make these parts of a larger GRUVAG national network satellite internet project, right? There's a lot of issues there when it comes to investments, as well as perhaps there might be just 3 or so companies who can take on such a big project. But anyway, spectrum allocation filings submitted to International Telecommunications Union by China in September last year revealed plans to construct 2 similar names GV low Earth orbit constellations totaling about 13,000 satellites, just close to. Anyway, the filings indicate the plans for GV to consist of sub constellation ramping from 500 to 1,145 kilometers in altitude, which inclination between 30 to 85 degrees of satellites will operate across a range of frequent bands. Let's close this article at this point and let's take a look at what Europe is doing. Let's take a look at what Europe is doing. That might be important since we were take a look at United States and what they perhaps not in today's would be too long. United States is doing a lot, China is doing a lot, and now we can take a look at what Europe is planning to do. And this article will be published yesterday. EU launches 10.6 billion euros space internet program set for 2029. The constellation, okay. Let's not promote other projects. Well, overall, that would be perhaps part of why UK might be interested in partnering up with Europe. Then partnering up, and if they would build some shield or whatever, they might be interested in building what those rockets would be response into all these kind of things, right? That's very important. European Union has outlined space program with constellation of 290 satellites that will rival other service providers. In an announcement, the European Commission said that signed the concession contract for the infrastructure of resilience, interconnectivity, and security by satellites. It's called IRIS-2 with the Space Rise Consortium. Sure. Space Rise Consortium is made up of a number of satellite players, including SES, Eutelsat, NO, Euspassat, Sat. Okay, sure. A number of key partners were also named, including. Okay, there's a lot of projects. I don't know any of those projects. When it comes to communicating with any of those partners, there are processes in place in Europe. There are, but you need to propose project and they need to be very interested into your project to do business with them at this stage. But anyway, the European previously secured 6 billion euros deal to develop its own satellite internet system back in 2022. Then the number of nations said it was aimed to have the system up and running by 2027. The date is now set for 2 years later in 2029. Let's check on Europe within 2 years and let's see how they're progressing. What we will take a look at Estonia and how we're developing engines, right? So let's take a look at last press release where they're working on engines. And if they're looking to take the satellites up to orbit, well, they might need to have very good engines, right? And we'll progress from there. Last article, and we're gonna close on this particular article. That would be something that would be published. Is it 2 days ago? That would be the 16th of December, and to take not necessarily these particular engines would be designed for this purpose, but perhaps that would be some of the work that would be done towards this direction. Since to take anything up to orbit, they would need to have a lot of powerful engines. For many reasons, we not necessarily have enough time, but anyway, that would be Ukraine and Czech Republic, complete development of jet engines for drones. So some of the developments happening as well as power sources, so they might be interested in taking a look at many things, right? I haven't read this article, so let's read it together and let's try to understand what's happening, right? That would be Ukraine Enterprise together with the Czech company. Let's Keep Names has completed the development of AI PBS 350 jet engine and has probably already launched its production. It was announced by, okay, let's progress without the names. In July this year, this company presents at the Farnborough Air Show completed model of the AI engine, which was developed in cooperation with Ukraine's enterprises. The new engine which was announced in June last year, was optimized specifically for use in unmanned aerial vehicles and other military developments. Okay, okay, okay. It's very. It looks very powerful. I don't know if it would work on drones, but okay, sure, sure. It's great. We were taking a look at some of the generations of drones that perhaps Ukraine is developing, right? We were taking a look at first generation, second generation, and perhaps third generation of drones might have these engines, but it looks very powerful engines, but the drone would be bigger. But anyway, according to, let's progress without names, and we'll start of mass production of the company's facilities in Czech Republic is expected for the first half of 2025. Initially, it will be about a dozen of units per year, with the further reaching of the planned volume of hundreds of units, right? Great, great. How powerful is this engine, right? By the way, all these articles was sent to me to read. I'm not actively looking for all this information. I might find it kind of interesting, I guess, with some of the developments happening, but all this information was sent to me, right? When asked about the possibility of exporting the engines for foreign customers, let's progress without the name said that Ukraine needs were a priority. Oh, okay, okay. However, the cooperation between the two companies is developing rapidly. Czech facilities will soon be able to supply the global markets. Okay, okay. How this engine will be powered? I have so many questions that haven't been answered, but anyway. Group reported that 2024 the jet engine production had increased by about 300% compared to the previous year. Next year, this growth is expected to be even more than 200%. In fact, we have moved from dozens of engine production, hundreds of now. We intend to move to thousands. Okay, sure, sure. Anyway, let's close this article. But anyway, final protection will be last two locations, but we are not against additional acquisitions. Ideally, our U.S. subsidiary will be fully operational within a year. We expected that within 2 or 3 years, sales in the United States will amount about 100 million. He said, people make a lot of money. Let's close it, man. Thanks for watching. See you next one.